Welcome back to another edition of the Fanatics View Hockey Show. My name is James Lynch. We got a stacked show today, and starting things off on the right foot, we've got our guy Avry McDougall. You've seen his work everywhere, and he covers the Edmonton Oilers. And of course, the big news this week: Connor McDavid signing a shorter-term extension on a pretty team-friendly deal. Avry, first and foremost, was this a surprise to you? What was sort of your reaction to finding out about the McDavid contract?
I think when it comes to the money, it wasn't a shock to me because Connor McDavid has said before, the money isn't an issue. This is a guy who makes $6 million a year on endorsements alone. He's not hurting for cash. He didn't want to be or need to be the highest paid guy, even on his own team. This to me is a signal from the McDavid camp and Connor saying, listen, I give you guys 2 more years. Let's go in. Let's figure out how to win right now. So that's why I see it as, James.
The other thing is, again, like I think you look at some of the age, the age group on this team as well, a little bit older than maybe some of the other teams in the league. How much did that sort of play in this decision where it's kind of like, and by the way, I think McDavid played this perfectly, right? Because he takes a team-friendly deal. Yes, I know Oilers fans would love him to stay an Oiler for life, and now that's not necessarily a guarantee. But I think if he does leave, let's say things don't go well, the fans can't be upset for the fact that he did have a team-friendly deal and he was trying to help the team win. Like he could have got 20 million, maybe. Who knows? I mean, he's the best player in the league. Like, do you get that sense from Oilers fans that like this was kind of a good situation for McDavid if he does want to leave? And I'm not saying he will, but it certainly makes it like he's sort of doing a favor to the fans.
No, totally. This comes across as Connor McDavid saying, you know what, I'm going to do all I can to make sure this team can compete. I'm going to leave money on the table so Stan Bowman can go out and get some more help. And a lot of fans have felt the same way. You know what? Hey, if we can't get it done then, and Connor wants to leave, you know what? He did his best. He tried. It is what it is.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. Of course, the other news as well, we had Matthias Ekholm re-sign as well. So a 3-year plan. Like it looks like everything's sort of lining up in the same window, other than obviously Jake Wallman, who signed as well for a longer-term deal. But it really seems like the next 3 years are really big for the Oilers in terms of what are they going to be able to do? Can they win the cup? Do you kind of get that sense that like this is it? They're putting all their chips in.
Yeah, totally. Getting Ekholm was a big thing, and since Ekholm got here in 2023, he's been a big cog on that back end. We saw over the past while he's played really well with Evan Bouchard. You bring back Jake Wallman on a long-term deal, and Wallman yesterday said he wants to be here long-term. Jake Wallman likes being early, he likes playing with this core. You add him to guys already here, like a Bouchard, like a Nurse, like a Brett Kulak, and this defensive core is getting better and better. You're seeing that stability gel more and more each year with the guys that this team has been able to retain on the back end so far, James.
What's the plan with Connor Ingram? I saw that pick up last week. I was sort of reading Jim Matheson's tweets that I guess the plan is to keep him in the minors and then maybe you bring him up if there's any sort of injury or anything like that. But is the plan, he's sort of like a third option is my understanding. Because when I saw that they picked him up and did the trade, I assumed that maybe Pickard was gone. What's your sense as far as the plan with Connor Ingram?
Yeah, it sounds like right now they want him playing games again right now at the pro level. So he'll stay in Bakersfield. Probably my guesstimate, I would say, is probably until around Christmas-ish in there.
That's what I thought,
yeah. I think the idea is, if someone struggles or gets hurt, you call up Connor Ingram. So I can see the year ending with a tandem of Skinner and Ingram. That's how I see it ending. But yeah, the team wants Ingram to play at least 20, 25 games at the AHL level, get back up to speed. And he's someone who I like because when he was with Arizona, he was over 900 in save percentage. He was a stabilizing force in that Arizona net when they were still the Coyotes or still playing in Phoenix. So I see him as a guy who can come in if someone struggles and be a stabilizing force in the net, because all Edmonton needs in net is a guy who can give them 900 save percentage goaltending. You don't need a Vezina winner. You just need someone who can be good and adequate consistently.
Yeah, and I think he fits the bill. I think it's a great move for Edmonton just because, again, you've got a guy that's got that NHL experience. Like I saw a lot of people saying, like, why didn't they get Arthur Seelovs, right, when he ended up getting traded to Pittsburgh? It's like he has NHL experience, but barely any, and it's not like it's too much of a gamble, like especially for a team that's, there's a lot of expectations are there too. So I think the Ingram pickup was quite good. You spent a lot of time around this team. Training camp, any big takeaways? Anyone really catch your eye? Obviously, there's been a few additions. Mangiapane, we had Curtis Lazar. Anything really stand out to you in camp as we're sort of heading into the season tonight, basically?
I would say Arturo Leppinen. He was a D-man who led the Finnish league in scoring, and he's someone where anywhere else in the NHL, and he's on someone's top 6. Unfortunately, there's such a logjam defensively for Edmonton. There's no room for him, but he's someone who I think could be called up if someone gets hurt earlier in the season, because he stood out in a major way on the back end. And again, someone who led Finland in scoring. And for a D-man to do that, that's a hard thing to do in European hockey, to be a defenseman and lead the league in scoring. So he's someone I want to keep an eye on going forward and see how he plays in Bakersfield. Also, David Tomasek as well, too. Came from the Czech Republic, played in Sweden, older guy, 29 years old, but he's someone who impressed a lot of people in camp. So Tomasek is going to play on the opening lineup. So Tomasek is going to be someone I want to see if he can maybe work his way up into Edmonton's top 6 as the year goes on, James.
Happy to be joined here by Avry McDougall. You can check out his work everywhere and follow him on Twitter at Avry. That's Avry. Always doing some great work. We got the game tonight against Calgary. First, regular season game of the season. I know a lot of expectations for Edmonton. Do we know who's going to be where McDavid's playing? Do we have the lineups yet, or is that something we're still, going to figure out ahead of the game tonight?
So it sounds like it's going to be McDavid playing on that first line, starting off like it always is. McDavid first line, Draisaitl line 2. That's a good thing, because we've seen a lot of times early in the season, the Oilers, no matter who it is, no matter what coach, they love to go early on McDavid, Draisaitl, the McDry line. So it sounds like, I'm glad they're going to stick to consistently keeping those two on separate lines, how it should be, because we see before, when you overload the top line, when given Draisaitl, lines 2 and 3 tend to struggle. So I like the fact that they're committing right now to keeping those two on separate lines.
Yeah, and I guess obvious question, but Stuart Skinner's job to lose. Basically, he'll be the starter, I think, going forward.
Yeah, Stuart's going to be the guy. And you know what? This Edmonton Oilers team, they still like Stuart Skinner. They still like what he can bring. But I do think bringing Connor Ingram adds a little bit of pressure in the sense of, hey, I think it's a team saying, hey, Stu, you're still our guy. We're going to push you with Connor Ingram in the organization now, coming down over your shoulders, so make sure you step up this year, because yes, we got to the 2 Cup finals, but we need more from you this season here.
I don't know if you saw The Athletic had the article out of the NHL predictions, and sitting at the top of the league is the Edmonton Oilers winning the President's Trophy. Do you agree with that? Where do you see Edmonton sort of fitting in this year? They'll be a playoff team. They'll be a contender for sure, but where do you sort of see them situated when it's all said and done this season?
That's a bold take. I don't know if they're going to be a President's Trophy winning team. I could certainly see them being, again, a top 5 team in the league. I do think they do have a chance of getting past Vegas finally for a division title. That's one thing that's eluded this organization for literally going on almost 40 years. They haven't won a division title since 86-87. So I do think this team can find a way to finally get past the Vegas Golden Knights team in the division. And Vegas themselves, they're getting older, they're banged up. I think it could be the year Edmonton catches them to become Pacific champions for the first time in their team history.
I'm really curious about Vegas, because as much as everyone's talking about Marner, and that will definitely help the team, and I think it's going to be exciting to just see how that plays out in the Western Conference, I'm still worried about the defense. I think a lot of people are overlooking Alex Petrangelo's impact on this team and him not playing anymore, and them having to get guys like Theodore and Hannafin and all these other names on the back end kind of stepping up. Is that something you're kind of keeping an eye on? Because I do imagine Vegas is going to make a move and try and get a defenseman at some point.
Yeah, I do think so. They're still going to be a playoff team. They're still going to be dangerous to me come playoff time. But yeah, Pietrangelo, it's a big loss. And with the way the cap works now, with the adjustments, it can't be a thing anymore, he's gone and then game 1 playoffs, he's back. No, he's done. I've heard people in Vegas no, he is actually
he's retired basically.
Yeah, pretty much. So I've heard, so they're gonna make a trade to figure out what they can do. But that's the one thing about the Golden Knights, is that the organization, when you think that team is done, when you think the Golden Knights are dead in the water, they figure it out somehow. They always have, doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. Just getting back to the McDavid extension, what's sort of been the reaction? I've seen sort of the reaction on social media, but what's your sense from the Edmonton fan base? Are they happy? There's got to be mixed emotions. I think best case scenario would be McDavid's I'm staying for life, sign the long-term contract and all that. But this is like I said, best of both worlds. You get a cheaper contract to bring more guys in, but it's a shorter term, obviously.
Yeah, I think for the fan base, it's a matter of, it's mixed in sense of, yes, he's staying, but I think you're right. Some fans would have loved to have him resign for 3 or 5 or 8 years. It wasn't going to happen. But I think for the fan base right now, it's a matter of, okay, the fans want Bowman and company to say, you know what? He's here for the next 3 years, make some moves, and this team has no choice but to win this year in my mind. This can't be a regression year. This can't be a year where this team loses in round 1 or round 2. It's cup or bust right now for this team in my mind. And the fans are saying, you know what? You've got this window of 3 years. Get it done.
Do you think we'll see any lapses this year? It's weird with the Oilers. Like, so they had, what was it, 2 years ago? They had the losing streak, which eventually saw, them bring in Chuck Knobloch, Chris Knobloch. Chuck Knobloch's the baseball player. So they brought him in, and then even last year there was a stretch where they had a losing streak. I know that happens with certain teams, but it's just weird that it keeps happening season after season with the Oilers, where they have these stretches where they can't. They kind of have these lulls. Not that it matters; they always make the playoffs. But is that something do you think that they're going to maybe try and correct this year? I don't know.
I think so, because you're right, James. Because it's like the past 4 or 5 years, they always have that stretch. It's either in like December or October where they go 1-6 or 2-5, and you want this team to be consistent all throughout the year. And I mean, the past 2 or 3 years, they started the year very slowly. That's the one thing this team has to improve on. They can't be starting the year playing behind the 8 ball, playing catch up again to, say, a Vancouver, a Vegas. I mean, they're good enough to overcome it, but if you're a fan base, your organization, it gets tiring to always do the comeback act every single year mid-season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. What'd you think of the game on Friday? And it was preseason, and I know the Canucks won, but it felt like a regular season game. Like you had obviously, Draisaitl, McDavid playing, Pettersson was there. It seems like if all goes well this year, and Vancouver's a little bit better than they were last year, I think we're going to have a fun series this year between the two teams. Did you kind of get that sense from the game on Friday?
I did definitely think so, yeah. And seeing how both these teams play, I think for Vancouver, the fact that I think this year's gonna be a little bit calmer now. I mean, there's no more JT Miller.
Fingers crossed.
There's no more JT Miller beef with Pettersson now. Locker room's probably gonna be a little bit better now. But yeah, I do think that it's gonna be fun again watching the Edmonton Vancouver battles going back and forth this year, James. Most definitely.
Well, I think I hate to say it, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I feel like Vancouver's kind of replaced Calgary in the rivalry now, because especially if you look on social media, Avery, it's muddy waters there between the fan bases, but I love it. Like, I think, I know it can be kind of quote unquote toxic every now and then, but I think it's good for the sport that fans care so much about their teams and there's this back and forth. And I really think that with Vancouver being in a better position this year, because again, you get a healthy Demko, you get Pettersson being back to what he was, I think you're going to have a Vancouver team that is a playoff team. And I think that's better for Edmonton because it gives them a good rival as well, sort of as we're going throughout the season. I don't know if the Oilers kind of feel the same way. Like, obviously, I know Oilers fans want Canucks to miss the playoffs and they enjoyed everything last year, but I'm kind of excited this year that we're going to pick up where we left off in the playoffs a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for Edmonton fans, I think right now for Oilers fans, the rivals, they feel as Oilers fan, the rivals right now are, you're right, Vancouver, LA, and I would throw Vegas in there as well too. I don't think Calgary's in that mix. I don't think Calgary's there. I mean, yeah, for the older fans certainly, but if you're younger, you want to beat more or less Vancouver and Vegas and LA. Those are the teams you're thinking, we need to beat those teams every single day.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't mention Calgary, because nothing against Calgary, but I think we're kind of, even though they won't outright say it, they're still kind of doing a rebuild a little bit, especially if Anderson doesn't come back, like they ended up trading him. So I just don't see Calgary. I think Calgary could make the playoffs. I'm not, Dustin Wolf played amazing last year, like certainly going to be keeping tabs on that. But I think if you look at the strength of the Western Conference, there's just teams that are just a bit better. And I think with Calgary, it's not a bad thing if they don't make the playoffs. They have a lot of picks. They have a lot of assets. I think this is a team that they're trying to do what a lot of teams are doing, the rebuild on the fly. We'll see how that ends up panning out there. Avery, thanks so much for joining me here today. Just let my audience know anything you got coming up that we should be checking out of all of your work. You do the CFL as well. Great coverage there too. Anything else before we let you out of here? The floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, we're doing some content on the Elks season coming in soon. I know they're playing Winnipeg this week, so we got some content coming in before their game against the Blue Bombers on Saturday afternoon.
There we go. That's good. Follow. Yeah, and follow him on Twitter at Avery. That's ARVY. Thanks again for stepping up. By the way, got to let my audience know, hit up Avery yesterday. I think it was like late in the day. I'm like, can you come on? Like, I need someone to talk about McDavid, and you always step up, man, and I really appreciate it. So thanks so much for coming on.
Of course, anytime, buddy.
There we go. That is Avry McDougall. Go check him out. Hockey News, everywhere else. One of the best when it comes to covering the Edmonton Oilers. I was going to say the NFL. Didn't mean to do that. Look who we got. Another friend of the show here, Mike Straw. Mike, keep the questions coming. Hope you're doing well. Mike, I don't know if you saw in The Athletic. I believe The Athletic has the Buffalo Sabres making the playoffs this year. So you got to be excited about that. They are very, they think this is the year it's going to get turned around. I've told you this before. I think the Buffalo Sabres are like the Eastern Conference Vancouver Canucks, came into the league at the same time, had their struggles, with ownership and all types of different stuff. So, I think a lot of Canucks fans do have the same sympathy for the Sabres, except the fact that you guys have actually done a proper rebuild and it hasn't seemed to pan out. Canucks have just, for whatever reason, are just happy being sort of stuck in the middle there. But if you got some questions, Mike, or anyone else who's watching this, please let me know in the comments. We're going to be joined here by Travis Tyler here in about, I didn't even get to mention this off the top because I wanted to dive into the McDavid stuff, but Travis Tyler going to be back in about 5-10 minutes to come on and talk about the Dallas Stars. Of course, you can check him out here on Fanatics View on the Texas Hockey Podcast as well, or the Texas Podcast, I should say. No, it's Texas Hockey Podcast, my bad. But doing some great work over there, and he is at Dallas Stars training camp, so we're going to get a lot of insight into the Stars because it's the one team we haven't had a chance to kind of talk about during the offseason. I think we talked with Travis right after free agency, so it'll be good to get that. I refuse to buy in. Injuries already taking. Who's injured right now for the Sabres? I haven't been keeping tabs, Mike. Enlighten us here. Who is? By the way, I love that logo. That looks awesome. By the way, follow our guy Mike Straw on social media, gaming, sporting, all types of stuff. He's good for everything here. And we'll get Mike back on here in a little bit as well on the show because I want to get some insight into the Sabres. But what injuries are taking over right now would be my question. We did I do a hockey draft with Troy, who we've seen on the show here before, and a bunch of my friends. And it's a hockey pool where you have to pick players from every single team. And I think I forget what pick I got on Buffalo, but I ended up taking Rasmus Dahlin. So I'm hoping for a big year out of him as well. It's going to be interesting to see how Buffalo does. But wanted to quickly mention, we talked about the McDavid extension there. Let me just look here. It's see if we can get like any sort of thing that's up here. Yeah, so we got all the contracts. There's actually a couple of contracts I forgot to mention. Okay, so Mike says UPL. Oh, yeah, Pekalainen. Power's injured? Okay, that sucks. Samuelson and Kesterling. Okay. Yeah. Well, you know what? Better it happen early in the season than, at a time when maybe they're on the losing streak and they need to get it. And good chance for the younger guys to step up as well. I know the Canucks, I think tomorrow night, obviously no Hoaglander's out for a while, and they've got I saw Teddy Bluger. I don't think is going to be in the lineup tomorrow either. So preseason. That's why you don't want preseason too long. Guys get injured. So let's have a quick look at the contracts here. And again, keep the questions coming, everyone, as we're waiting for Travis to hop on here in the next little bit. These are some of the contracts that have been signed recently. So Matthias Ekholm, $12 million, 3 years at $4 million cap hit. I was talking to my good buddy Adam Martin, who we've seen on here before. About the pay cut or whatever, but I don't think that Ekholm is going to get much anyways because he he's 35 and that contract will bring him into him being 38. So he's kind of taking that Tyler Myers type discount, which is great. I think you get if you get players to buy in and have cheaper contracts, you can bring other players in, and that's a sign of I want to win. So good on Ekholm. Kyle Connor. 8 years, $12 million, big win here for the Jets, especially with the whole thing around the league with the Jets. It's like no one, what's the whole narrative? Nobody wants to play for Winnipeg. Well, Kyle Connor does. And, that's a very good sign for this team. 28 years old. You lock up a guy like this. I know he's left wing, right wings and centers are usually, and right shot D are usually the most valuable, but Kyle Connor's a big part of this team. Getting him at $12 million. Again, the cap's going up. Very good deal there. The other one we got to take a quick look at here as far as contracts. Obviously, McDavid, 2 years, $12.5 million. Huge discount. I mean, McDavid could have commanded up to $20 million if he wanted, I think. I mean, he should be the highest paid player in the league. But for him, it's about, hey, let's, try and bring other guys in. Let's try and win. Let's try and get it done. So good on McDavid for doing that. Jake Wallman, $7 million at 7 years. It's a very good contract. Wallman, 29 years old. Good contract there for the Oilers as well. He was acquired last year in that trade from San Jose, which is so weird, right? Detroit, what was it? Detroit gave away a pick to get rid of Jake Wallman. San Jose gets him, ends up getting a first-round pick back for it. So San Jose got a huge haul out of this Jake Wallman thing. And Wallman's a better fit in Edmonton anyways, just with what they're trying to do. So that's great. The other contract that's been signed since we last spoke on here was the Philip Gustafson contract, 5 years, $6.8 million. Don't mind that at all. Really good season with Minnesota. He's going to be sort of their starter for the next little bit here. A couple other ones. We had Luke Evangelista coming to terms with the Nashville Predators. We've been hearing for a while that they were at an impasse and then they got it done. So that's good. I mean, the big thing, guys, is you want these contracts hammered out before the season starts, right? Like you don't want it lingering and being an issue. I believe all the RFAs are signed now. Oh, Kaprizov, obviously, too. We talked about this last week. 8 years, $17 million. I believe he's the highest paid player in the league. Good for him getting the bag. Luke Hughes, 7 years, $9 million. So Luke Hughes getting more than his brother. But again, young defenseman, 22 years old. They're taking a big bet on Luke Hughes, but all indication is he's going to end up being what he is. And Anthony Stollart's getting a reasonable 4-year, $3.75 million contract for the Leafs. One thing I'll give the Leafs credit for that they've done really well over the last couple of years is kept their goalie cap hit, pretty good. And I wouldn't say the Leafs goaltending has been like an issue for them over the years. They've been able to, they had Frederik Andersen, they had, they still got Wall, and they get Stollart's last year, which was just sort of a casualty in Florida. They needed to, obviously Florida had their guys that they were going with. Really good, tidy work here from Brad Treliving and the Leafs of keeping that cap hit lower, because obviously they've got, a couple guys in Matthews and Nylander are making some big coin there, not to mention the discount that Tavares gave them. This gives the Leafs a bit of flexibility here, which is great. So listen, I'm all about the players getting paid. I think it's awesome. I think, I want all the players to get what they're supposed to get, but there is something cool about some of these guys really thinking team first and thinking, okay, we want to spread the wealth a little bit. So we're going to have some players out there that can possibly sign with the team. So a lot of activity going on here with the NHL and some of these signings as well. Let's get into some of the games here quickly, because I don't know if we'll have a chance to talk about this with Travis, but yesterday, if we missed any of the action, the Avalanche getting a 4-1 win over the LA Kings. You look at their Scott Wedgwood, pretty light night overall, just 24 saves on 25 shots. Arturi Lehkonen, 1 goal, 1 assist. Cale Makar, 2 assists, and 2 goals for Martin Necas, which is always nice to see. The Kings, Kempe and Kopitar getting it done, and then Darcy Kemper in net, also a light night. Very low scoring, low shot game, I should say. Not even close to 30 shots, but not surprising to see the Avalanche win. This was a bit surprising. The Penguins getting their first win of the season in their first game. 3-0 defeat over the New York Rangers. I think the Rangers will be better this year, maybe even possibly a playoff team, but you're losing 3-0 at Pittsburgh. That's not a good start to the season. There was a good tweet yesterday, I'm going to bring it up here, about JT Miller. And obviously he is the captain now of the New York Rangers, but the Rangers fans not too happy with JT Miller. Let me bring this up here real quick. I think I've got the tweet here. I'll find it right now. But anyways, it just gave sort of a sample size of the Rangers fans not being too happy with JT Miller last night. So here we go. Shout out to Noah Strang, does great work over there covering the Canucks. New York Rangers fans don't seem to be loving Captain JT Miller's first game. And I know it's a small sample size, but it just shows you the passionate fan bases. Like, same thing here in Vancouver. Fans love JT Miller. Some, fans don't like him. So I thought that was interesting. But the big news of this game is Arthur Seelovs getting the start in Pittsburgh, ends up getting the shutout there, 25 saves. Very good for Arthur Seelovs. I think it's collective around, Canucks fans. They're rooting for Arthur Seelovs. He was just a casualty of the Canucks having too many goaltenders. They gave him the stint last year. It didn't work out. There's still going to be people being like, they shouldn't have traded him. I don't know this is a good sign, step in the right direction for Seelovs. I still don't know if he's a capable NHL starter. It's a good step in the right direction, but we got to see a full season of the Seelovs. Of course, Tristan Jarry not getting the start, which is Kyle Dubas is maybe going to be one of his biggest Achilles heel, was making that deal, re-signing Jarry a couple of years ago. Seelovs is the starter, making way less. How much is Seelovs making this year? I think he's making like league minimum, or at least close to it here. Let's have a quick look. And look at that, $11 million in cap space for the Penguins, who are really the only team right now that is, making any noise. Look at this. Arthur Seelovs, league minimum or close to league minimum, $850,000. Tristan Jarry sitting on the bench at 5.3, and you still got him for 3 more seasons. Not that it matters. Pittsburgh's probably going to go for a lottery pick this year, but still not good. Justin Brazeau getting 2 goals last night. Sidney Crosby, 2 shots, no points last night for him. And then on the Rangers side, you look at it there. Not a whole lot going on by them. Igor Shesterkin making 27 saves on 28 shots in the game, which, how does that make? Oh, because I guess one was an empty net. I was trying to say, like, how did the shots work out that way? But so the Rangers lose. We'll see where they go from here. But you would have expected the Rangers to win last night. We'll see if Pittsburgh can do much more than that. But the Penguins outshot them, right? 28 to 25. So Rangers got to pick it up a little bit. And then tonight, you also had the Panthers game yesterday. Panthers edge out the Blackhawks 3-2. And then let's look at some of the games here for tonight. Good old Google helping us out here. So we got the Canadiens and Maple Leafs going down at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Obviously, big rivalry there between the two over the years. We'll see how the Leafs look. The Bruins and the Capitals, that'll be a fun one in the Eastern Conference. And then we've got the Golden Knights and the Kings. Get a good look at the Kings again this year. But the Kings obviously playing last night. So it might be good to look at the money line there for the Golden Knights at home, as they play the Kings who played the night before. So we'll have to see that one. We also got the Flames and the Oilers going down tonight as well. So good segue here to talk to our next guest. You've seen it here on Fanatics View, doing some great work covering the Dallas Stars. Happy to welcome back our friend Travis Tyler here to the program, as I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I almost did there we go. What's up, Travis? How you doing, man?
Hey, James. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. So good to get you on. It's a lot going on right now. Obviously, we got the regular season underway yesterday. Let's start with the Stars, though. You've been around the team a lot with camp and everything. Any sort of takeaways from training camp, sort of leading into the season? Anyone sort of catch your eye, or any sort of storylines we should be keeping an eye on?
I mean, where to start? There's a lot of more positive vibe this year, and I don't mean that in like a negative way. It just seems like it's a different vibe around the team. I think they're playing a more loose and less structured, more like hockey players brand of hockey rather than a system. And I guess the storyline to follow, I guess one would be the contract situations with Jason Robertson's free agency coming up.
Yeah.
Also, obviously, the new head coaching hire and how they start the season under that new system and everything. And then Jamie Benn's injury with the collapsed lung and how much that really affects them, even though, at this point in his career, he's probably in their bottom tier of forwards compared to what he's going to bring for them on the ice other than his leadership. So they probably aren't missing a lot of production in terms of the guys that are going to be in there in his role.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's a loyalty thing as well. He's been with the team for a long time after coming over from Boston all those ages ago. You look at Jason Robertson right now, 7.7. We've been hearing his name in trades as well throughout the offseason. Was there a fit? Again, it's been really tough to make trades for a lot of teams this season because other than Pittsburgh, every team's trying to get better. So you have to find a Jason Robertson equivalent that's going to come back, whether it's a different position or whatever, that could be a fit there. Do you think that's still an option there, or do you get the sense that they are going to try and work something out and bring Robertson back?
Honestly, other than like the first day of training camp, it hasn't been brought up at all. So I don't think there's anything going on there at all. It seems in watching Robo play, it seems like he's out there having fun, just goofing around, like in a good way, goofing around and smiling and making all these moves on Ottinger and all the other goalies and celebrating every single goal he's scored in practice. So he looks like he's having a good time out there. So doesn't seem like he's going anywhere, but there is a business end to this. And we'll have to see how that plays out, especially after some of these contracts that are signed recently.
So you've kind of alluded to it here, and it's funny because the same things kind of happen in Vancouver. So, and I'll explain what I mean in a second here. So obviously Pete DeBoer is gone. You have Glenn Gultson coming in as the head coach. It almost feels like the way you're describing things, like there's a lot less tension in the room. DeBoer is an old school guy, can be very hard nosed. I mean, we saw the comments he made about Jake Ottinger last year. How much of a benefit is that to the team where it seems like, they've had a lot of success, but to get rid of maybe a system and a coach that maybe was making things a bit harder than they needed to be, and bringing in a guy in Glenn Gultson who, like you were just sort of describing, has made things a little bit more free. It seems like that's translated on the ice too, where guys, like you said, are more relaxed.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of that. I don't think it's as dramatic as it's sounding, as everybody's made it out to be at the end of the season. But yeah, you can definitely tell there's like I said, there's a different vibe, and with the talent that's on this team, that's kind of more of a positive aspect for them, is being able to play loosely, because we know they're talented, they're fast, they got scoring abilities, and you don't want to be hampered by the system when things break down. You want to be able a lot of times the best part of that is to be able to just use your gut and your instincts and work as a hockey player. And I think that's what some of this system will allow some of these guys to do. And I think it's also helped some of the younger guys be like, okay, I have an opportunity to do something here instead of trying to fit in. If that makes sense. Yeah.
No. I told you, I totally know what you mean. And what I was going to tie this into Vancouver is that the Canucks are kind of experiencing the same thing with Adam Foote. So people who don't know, Adam Foote took over for Rick Tocchet. Rick Tocchet bolted, went to Philly. And there was always this talk last year of like Tocchet would like hinder players. Like, for example, Philip Cheadle comes in, has this really good playmaking ability, and Tocchet kind of suffocated him in that and got him to play more in his system. And we saw him kind of struggle after that. And we're seeing a difference this year where Cheadle's kind of back to where he was before. Obviously, Cheadle coming over in that trade for JT Miller. There's kind of the sense with Canucks fans that, like, I think Foote's going to like still keep a lot of the, structure with that Talk had, but have a little bit more leeway in terms of what players can do. And it's funny that you described this with Dallas, because I think a lot of people have said the same thing with Canucks, is that players are just more open and they're able to do more when you're not have such a rigorous system. So that I wanted to bring that up as well. So yeah, you mentioned the Jason Robertson thing. There's also, like I said, like a lot of expectations with Dallas. I think the big thing obviously is they keep getting in the same spot every year where they have a great regular season. There's never really any worries about the Stars, right? Like they're going to be a playoff team. They're going to be a contender this year, but they're almost like the Western Conference Carolina Hurricanes, where it's like they get to that spot and then they can't get to the finals. They did, I know, years ago, but like, I know it's so hard to predict now because, again, we got lots of time for the season, but like, how do you address that? Like, how do you, is it bringing in more leadership? Is it, because I'm looking at this team and it's kind of the same team as last year, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think what they've done to try to address it is try to bring in a more physical brand to add to that speed. Yes. They've added Nathan Bastian to their fourth line. He's a veteran guy who's, fought, been known to fight some guys and be physical down there. They mentioned, they signed Adam Ernie off of a PTO yesterday. And when Gulletson was talking to us in the media about why they signed Ernie and stuff, he mentioned, one, his familiarity from playing with him in Edmonton, but two, the fact that he's a big, heavy, physical guy in front of the net and somebody that can add that physical presence to their lineup. And then you look at, we mentioned Jamie Benn out for a while with that collapsed lung. One of the guys they've recently called up that was expected to be one of those fill-ins who for some reason wasn't on the initial roster, but he's officially called up now. They did a lot of cap logistics and stuff like that. It was Justin Ritzkovian. He's he's not like a big time scoring guy, but he's got a little more of this skill comparison to Jamie Benn in terms of being able to do stuff other than fight people on the wing and all that. But he also brings that fighting element and that physical element to it. You saw him, I think it was the first preseason game. It might have even been his first shift. He grabbed a guy and started fighting him. And that's the kind of stuff that they wanted to see out of him. When they asked Gulletson about it, he was like, yeah, I like it. It shows that he wants to be on this team and stuff like that. So they're really trying to marry a couple different styles together to kind of blend their way to what they need to be. And you've seen with the Edmonton series the past couple of years, that's been one of the differences is they get to that third round of the playoffs and they've been out physicaled already and they don't have it anymore.
Yeah, I agree. And so, yeah, we'll see if that makes any sort of a difference there as far as, get a little bit more physical in there as well. What are the expectations, I guess, just for the season? I mean, it's making the playoffs. Are there ambitions to maybe win the President's Trophy? I saw the Athletic had the Edmonton Oilers being the President's Trophy winners. And I don't know about that because I would almost argue that the Oilers are maybe a bit worse last year with some of the players they've lost. I know they brought in Mangiapane. I know they brought in Curtis Lazar, but they lost Connor Brown. They lost Evander Kane. They lost Arvidsson. Like, I just wonder. And I just had Avry on here a second ago. Like the thing with the Oilers every year, and I don't know if they're going to fix it this year, but they always go on a losing streak, like a significant one throughout the season. So I don't know if that's something they can fix, but I do feel like because of those things, the Oilers never seem to get to the top. And I mean, we're talking President's Trophy, so that would be the best team in the entire league. But do you think there's ambitions for Dallas to be that team? Because especially with Florida being injured, like I think there is an opening for either Dallas or Colorado to potentially be the President's Trophy winner this year.
Yeah, I'd say there's openings for that to be, we have a different one every year pretty much. It doesn't really matter who ends up winning the regular season because it never works out in the playoffs. But I think in terms of Dallas, the expectations depend on who you ask. Like the fans, for most of the fans, I'd say it's Stanley Cup or bust. That's the way they are. With us reporters, we're like, well, I don't really know what to make of this team. They're really good on paper, but who knows how they're going to start with the new coach and how long it's going to take for everything to gel together and all that. And then you look at the team itself. Obviously, the guys that have been here want to get past the point that they have been to. I mean, 3 straight Western Conference Finals. They want to get over that hump. There's guys who are getting towards the end of their careers that want to win that Stanley Cup that they haven't won yet. But then there's also guys that haven't really been around that and haven't uh, accomplished as much in their careers, and they're still kind of getting used to what playoff hockey is and that kind of stuff. And then I think we asked Glenn Gulletson at the beginning of training camp if it was a Stanley Cup or bust year, and said that he doesn't want to put that mark on it because you could have a better year and still make it as far in the playoffs just because how hard it is to get that far. And this team's gone 3 straight Western Conference Finals is extremely difficult to get to. It's going to be even harder to get to a 4th one. So it's really tough to put that kind of expectations on the team, even though on paper that's probably what they should be aiming for.
Kind of looking around the league because obviously it does play into Dallas. What did you make of the McDavid contract? Shorter term, 2 years. I said this to Avery, and I want to get your thoughts on this. And I tweeted this out the other day. I think McDavid played this perfectly because look, he can leave in 2 years, and fans really can't be mad at him because he gave them a nice discount there with that contract. Like they can bring in other players for the next 2 years. It is an older team. I don't blame McDavid either. It's like this. Most of the players on the team are 30 plus. Nugent Hopkins. I think Jake Wallman's like one of the few guys that's under 30, but they've got an older roster. Ekholm's 35. They just signed him this morning. Like I think there's a window there for McDavid, and if he wants to go somewhere else and be the guy, he can do that. So, does that worry you at all? Like as a Canucks fan, I'm kind of like, whatever. Like I didn't think McDavid. I figured McDavid would go short term, but I also know there's immense pressure in Edmonton for them to win, and it's been very difficult to do that while the Panthers are still around.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this on the Texas Hockey Podcast yesterday. I mentioned that, this is we see a lot of teams signing players to prove it deals, that this is a player signing a team to a prove it deal. Is the way I like to put it. I mean,
very well said. Yeah,
he took less money, obviously, short term, but I mean, he's 28, still in the prime of his career, so he knows 2 years from now I can still cash in wherever I want to go. If Edmonton shows me that they're going to build a team around me and still be able to compete for those years, then I can re-sign and milk them for how much money I want. If not, I'll go get it somewhere else and go compete somewhere else. So it's well played for him, and I mean, he's got all the leverage in that situation right now.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because, and Avery mentioned this too, is that obviously McDavid has endorsement deals too, like apparently upwards of $6 million. So, I mean, he's getting that money on top of but he wouldn't get that necessarily in another market, right? Like it's because it's Canadian market, and it's obviously like it's a bigger, like same thing with Austin Matthews. I don't think a lot of people realize that. I know there's this whole narrative about, the players go to Florida or wherever because of the no state tax. I think you guys, same thing, right? No state tax.
Yeah.
So it does help with the contract, but at the same time, like if you're a really good player, you can get some really good endorsement deals in Canada that you probably wouldn't get in the US, even with the conversion and all that. So I do wonder, but part of me, I mean, I think at the end of the day, McDavid wants to win. I think it has to be a situation where, if he goes somewhere, I think that's first and foremost. But there's also that, like, he's like LeBron or whoever, right? Like I mean, who wouldn't want to go to a New York or one of these huge markets to like just be the guy in the US, like Gretzky did? Like that's another scenario I could see too. So I'm really fascinated to see what happens in these next 2 years, but it's going to be interesting. A lot of pressure there on Edmonton. I know you're actually a Detroit guy as well, as I'm stumbling over my words here. I don't know why. I had my coffee. I should be good. But just your thoughts on them this season. They get John Gibson. I really like that move. But the defense, I was looking at it like, that doesn't look so hot.
The defense has been bad for a while.
Which is weird. If you think about the Red Wings of the 90s, they had like Lidstrom and all these like really like solid like backstop defensemen. It just hasn't been like that in a while.
Yeah, they've got, I mean, Mo Seider obviously is the headline.
Oh, he's the man. Yeah,
he's good. I really like Simon Edvinsson and Albert Johansson, who were both rookies last year, so they'll fill in there. There's another rookie coming in, Axel Sandin Pellikka, who it was his first training camp. He was a first round pick like 2 years ago, I think it was. So he made the team as the second power play guy in his first NHL training camp. I think he's like 20 or 21 years old. So he's a very solid building piece. He's one of 3 rookies that made the team out of training camp. They cut loose Justin Hall and I believe it's Kevin Gustafson.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think it was Eric. Was it Eric Gustafson?
Eric Gustafson. Yeah. They cut him. They cut him loose. So those were 2 guys that were holding them back last year. So I mean, I think looking at that decor, that's an improved decor. It's still not great, but there's 4 building blocks and 2 veteran guys in there. So
Well, and Travis
it's
Hammond, like, I'll be
general-
honest, like I was kind of surprised that he's even still playing. And listen, I like
Yeah.
Travis. He played for the Canucks for a couple seasons, had some really good years prior to that, but he just is not like when Ottawa's getting rid of you, I think you've got like some, you know what I mean? Like I don't know what the thinking is there, and then you're kind of relying on these rookies. Like this has got to be this has got to be the weakest blue line in the league, I would think. Like I'd have to go look at Chicago and maybe some of these other teams, but it's right up there. And the reason I bring this up, I'm not trying to pick on Detroit, but I mean this was a team that brought in Todd McLellan last year. It looked like they were especially when McLellan first came in, this was a playoff team. They get John Gibson, which is good, but I still wonder about that defense. Is that going to be their Achilles heel, and is that going to be what keeps them out of the playoffs? I wonder.
Yeah, that's probably the close. Yeah, if they miss the playoffs, that's probably why. Goalie and defense has been the biggest issue. They've been fine scoring goals.
Yeah,
but
I think Gibson will play well for them though. Like it's a good veteran presence there, and then you got Cam Talbot as well. I forgot he was the backup there. So that's I mean, better than having like I think Billy Husso Husso was on a different team. Never mind. I was trying to. Detroit's had so many goalies over the years. Like
we had Husso at one point. It was Husso and Nedeljkovic one year.
That's right. Yeah. It's hard to keep track. Long gone are the days of Chris Osgood and Mike Vernon. Right?
Oh yeah.
That hasn't been quite the same there as well.
Their top goalie prospect got sent back to Grand Rapids, so not great right now. They got a top goalie prospect in Grand Rapids and another top goalie prospect playing for Michigan State right now. So
gotcha. That's good. Yeah. Just getting back to the Stars quickly. I know you do the Texas hockey podcast, so it's all not just Dallas, but also the Texas Stars as well. They had a lot of success last year in the AHL. I don't know how much you sort of keep tabs on the minor league team, but anyone you think could get the call up? Because one thing that Dallas has done so well and why they haven't had to do a full rebuild over the years is because they've had such a good pipeline. They're finding these guys like late in the draft, or they're getting guys like they've always had a strong AHL team as well. Maybe not necessarily AHL, but even on the actual roster. Is there anyone you think could surprise this year for Dallas that maybe we're not talking about that you've sort of noticed either at training camp or down the pipeline as well? I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but
let me think here. I would say, it's not. I would say the next guy in line is probably. I believe his name's R2 Huru.
I've heard of him.
Up a couple times. He was another guy that was in discussion for that Jamie Benn spot, but he's not mainly a left wing. I don't think. I don't know. I don't know too much about him. I know he's been up a few times.
I need we can keep an eye on for sure, which is basically what I wanted to get there.
A few times, and he's another one of these Finnish guys that they got. So he's on the cusp of the NHL. I don't know what exactly they see that role there, but I mean, with the success they've had, they haven't also had these high draft picks or anything anymore. So it's kind of getting to that point where you don't hear a ton about the prospects and you hear more about the NHL guys, and the good prospects are making the NHL team. So
well, and I would imagine too, part of the strategy there towards Dallas is expecting guys like Wyatt Johnson, like Maverick Bourque to make that next step as well. Like there's so much promise with these guys, and that's again one strength of Dallas, where like they have just hit on a lot of picks. So I think that's sort of been to their benefit as well. Like I'm looking at it here, and we talked about this last year too. I mean, this is still one of the deepest rosters in the league. Like there really are very few weaknesses, and you've also sprinkled in a couple rookies or some younger guys that could be even more impact players this year. And that's just the forward group. The defense, I mean, Heiskanen, Lindell, Harley, who I loved in the Four Nations. He played great. Lundqvist. I mean, this is a really strong roster, and that's why you're going to keep hearing Dallas as a potential contender this year. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and what I like about that defense is each one of those pairs is really an offensive defenseman, and then a guy that plays such good defense that you can allow him to take a lot of risks. Mm-hmm. So it's a pretty good pair. I would say there are probably more explosive pairs on other teams, but it's logically it makes sense and it works. It should work pretty well.
Awesome. Travis, this was great. We'll definitely get you on later in the season and, talk some more Dallas Stars. We're going to kind of be obviously following the news stories here on the, with the show every week. It'll kind of be based off like what's going on there. But we'll definitely get you back on. I want to see where the Stars are at. Again, they're going to be a strong team this year. So we'll kind of keep tabs on that. And I'm actually going to be seeing you next week on your podcast, the Texas Hockey Podcast. I'm excited to hop on and talk some Canucks Stars. I got to tell you a quick backstory on this too. So I was going to go to the Stars Canucks game in Dallas. It was on the schedule. And I'm like, you know what? Because every year I go to Vegas. I always go to Vegas once a year to go see the Canucks play there. It's just fun to go like watch, like as an away team. And this year I was like, you know what? I really want to go to Dallas because I see your crowds. It's like, man, that'd be a fun atmosphere. Just so happens the exact same week, which is next week, the UFC is coming here. And obviously that's my main job. I cover the UFC. So it's here in Vancouver. So I couldn't do both because I know that game's on Thursday. I even looked at the flights and everything. I was like, maybe I could swing it. So I think the year after I'll try and go, but no, next year. But one other little quick thing I'll mention, I didn't tell you this for the podcast next week. I'm actually going to the Canucks game on Monday before we do our podcast on Tuesday. So I'll have a lot of insight on the Canucks because I'll get to see him firsthand. A lot of cool storylines with the Canucks this year. Like they've got Braden Coots, the rookie who looks like he has made the team. Like Ramaki. So we'll have lots to talk about next week. But before we get out of here, anything you got coming up that we can check out, Travis, because you don't just do hockey, you do everything. So let our audience know before you get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, just the main thing is the Texas Hockey Podcast, which right here, Fanatics View. James is actually going to be our first guest next week that we've had on there. So we're looking forward to that. And then got a bunch of sports stuff on the Substack, ttyler.substack.com. And that's pretty much where I am right now in terms of stuff that people that would be watching this would potentially be interested in. So, you can go find me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and all that stuff too. So all the links for everything I'm working on will be around there.
Yeah, you can go check them out there. By the way, before we get out of here, have you watched the documentary on the Dallas Cowboys yet on Netflix? Because I was asking.
No, I haven't. I haven't had a chance to sit
it
down and stream anything lately.
Oh, okay. Yeah, gotcha. I was gonna say because I'm not a football guy really, like a very casual football fan, but and I know you're originally from Michigan, but or Detroit, I should say. But it's very, very good viewing as someone who covers the Dallas sports. I thought it was very well done.
Yeah. I have heard even from non-Dallas fans, just regular football fans, which is what I'm huge on usually. So I'm looking forward to being able to watch it when I get around to it.
Okay, and just quickly before we get out of here, that handle @TTyler_sports on Twitter. I'm going to still call it Twitter. It's Twitter to me forever. It's not going to be X. So there we go. Travis, thanks so much for doing this, man.
Weird to call it X. Yeah.
No, exactly. Yeah, keep it how it is. Okay, thanks, buddy. I'll see you next week. Appreciate you coming on. See you though. There you go. That is Travis Tyler covering all things Texas. He's got the Texas Hockey Podcast, which I'm going to be on next week. I'm stoked. I love talking hockey, as you guys know, which is great because you look at the posters behind me, which I forgot to put the jerseys up today. My bad on that. But really, really excited to come on that podcast next week. So I mainly do MMA, as you can see with the posters here. But didn't have. I have the jerseys over there. I forgot to put them up this morning. I just realized that now. So there we go. Not looking too good. We're gonna wrap things up right now, guys. Quickly, I'll go through the games tonight and talk about some of the things I like. And like I said, we'll be back. Oh, quick thing about next week. I will be covering the UFC event, so I will not be doing the show on Wednesday. I'll be doing it Tuesday next week. I still got to give you guys your Fanatics View hockey fix, but next week, probably a Tuesday show. Still looking to bring on a guest on that one. So quickly tonight, Leafs and Canadians. I'm liking the Leafs there. Capitals and Bruins. I don't think the Bruins are a playoff team. Got the Capitals at home. I like that. I definitely like the Knights at home against the Kings. And obviously the Oilers over the Flames. Maybe there could be some parlay action here. I don't know. We'll see. With the Flames and the Oilers, again, Dustin Wolf going to be in net for the Flames tonight is my understanding. So could be a tight game. Maybe look at the under goals on that one. Although McDavid's there, you never know. Actually, I did see a prop this morning. Maybe check your sports books. I think McDavid to score in this game is like plus money. So check that out if your book has it. And then a couple big games tomorrow. Canadians and Red Wings, Flyers and Panthers will be good. Islanders, Penguins, Senators, Lightning. Pretty much all the teams are in there. And the big one I'll be watching is the Canucks and Flames. If you remember last year, the Canucks had a huge lead on the Flames, ended up blowing it, ended up losing. I believe Seelov started that game for the Canucks last year too. And that was sort of the theme of the season where the Canucks couldn't get their footing and ended up missing the playoffs. So big game tomorrow night. I'll be watching that one. Actually going out with a couple friends tomorrow night to go watch that at a sports bar. So that'll be fun. Okay. So yeah, like I mentioned it there, next Tuesday, what day is that? It's going to be the 14th. Same day I'm doing actually Travis's podcast. I think I'm doing Travis's podcast first and then I'll hop on here, or maybe vice versa. But yeah, tune in next week on Tuesday. I will be doing the show then, and then we'll be back to our regular scheduled Wednesday after that. Hope you guys had a great, enjoyed the show today. Hope you guys have a great Wednesday. I'll talk to you guys next week, and take care. Thanks so much for watching.